Hello and welcome, guys and girls. It is Instaphobia here, and today we have another CreepyPasta reading. Let's begin. Church bells rang through the cold December night, as softly as a whisper. The final ring hung in the air as she held her breath. It sent a chill down her spine that no cold night could. She'd seen no church before, but there it was sitting before her, door open, as if someone expected her. It had been a rough night to that point, losing her license and hitting an animal that ran away before she could catch a glimpse of it. The impact caused her car to swerve into a tree, and luckily she was relatively unharmed, save a few cuts and bruises. But her car was totaled, and she couldn't use the heating system for warmth, so she decided to test her luck and try to walk back to a town she had passed a half hour before the crash. It would take hours to get back, and after passing the town, she had seen no sign of any sort of church or anything other than trees for that matter. But she was not going to pester herself with pointless dilemmas. She needed to get out of the cold, and a small church with electricity was sure enough to warm her up. It was through the trees, with no sign of any sort of path that led to the road. Maybe that's why she didn't see it. It was practically invisible from the road, and the lights were likely to have been turned on only recently. She cut through the trees and through bushes and stickers, chipping out a few roots along the way, but her relief of shelter was quickly vanquished. The smell of dead animal filled her nose. It couldn't have been the one that she hit with her car, because not only was that miles back, this was the smell of something dead for much longer than that animal could be. Regardless, she pressed on, but the smell only worsened. Each step she took now was slower and more hesitant than the last. Once she stepped through the door of the church, she realized that this place was not that she thought it would be. Other than the smell of rotting flesh, the church was colder on the inside, and there wasn't even any electricity. The room was lit by only candles. The windows were boarded from the outside, blocking the moonlight from entering, and upon closer inspection, so was the door. Well, once upon a time, anyway. All that was left were a few nails and splintered wood along the doorframe. This was only the foyer. Straight ahead was the entrance to what could be rightly assumed to be the congregation room. It was cracked open to reveal even more candles on the inside. It was glowing, enough to hurt her eyes that had adjusted to the darkness not long ago. As she stepped, the floorboards creaked and whined, making her believe that she was going to fall straight through at any second. She placed her hands on the door gently, and rapid whispers radiated from the other side. Immediately she had an overwhelming sense of dread. She knew that walking into the place was a mistake. She did not belong here. Still, though, something pushed her on, whether it was her own curiosity or something more sinister, she could not say. But even as she opened it, she regretted it instantaneously. Surprisingly, there was no one in the room, but the whisper continued. Not so surprisingly was the dead and decomposing deer laying on the altar. There were no flies eating at its dead flesh, but even from the doorway she could see the bite marks and claw marks tattooed on its body. Its guts were removed savagely, and blood stained the wooden floor below it. That was only what she first noticed. However, directly behind the deer dead was a human body, long dead and missing its left leg, but well preserved. It was standing upright in a coffin that leaned against the back window of the church. Engravings flooded the walls, and even the ceiling, each mark making a similar size. When she got close enough to read the markings, they only said one word, a name. Carl. Her name. Repeated thousands upon thousands of times. Her thoughts were racing faster and faster until she heard her name spoken once and sharply. She turned to the human body laying in the coffin. It was long dead, but there was no doubt that that is where the voice came from. Common sense would tell her to run as fast as she could until her feet bled. She could no longer hear the soft church bell ring softly in the night, but that was far removed from her now. Whether or not it was curiosity, it was still sinister. She approached slowly, and the whispering continued and became clearer. It sounded like a conversation between a man and a woman. Once she came face to face with the body, she heard the woman's voice harsh. The man, followed by a couple of seconds of silence. Then as loudly as she heard the first voice and without the body's mouth moving an inch, the man said, "Finally, she's here." The candles went out first, followed by the air getting even colder, and the silence began deafening. It was pitch black. Only the moonlight from the outside illuminated through the doorway. Carol began to make her way out of the hellish church, making sure not to trip over any bushes or the dead corpse. She couldn't move fast enough, though. No matter how quickly she was able to run, it wasn't fast enough. Once she reached the inner doorway, a small, squat figure appeared in the outside one. It was very low to the ground, and very inhuman, but at the same time, obviously human. It was a woman, in a squatting position. That was all she could make out of her appearance before she drove to the left into the corner of the church. There was an extra bench pushed to the wall opposite the altar that she hid behind, as she hoped that the woman had neither seen nor heard her. But it was hope-fulfilling, or was it? Light from the first room erupted as the candles were no doubt lit again. Wet skin slapped the wood beneath it as the woman walked or crawled. Once it came through the second doorway, she saw a feature that she had not seen before. A third leg, but it was still too dark to discern anything else, until she lit the next set of candles. Carol almost gasped, and gave her hiding spot away. There was no way in her mind that this thing was human at all. It was completely naked, with skin pale and gray and loose at the hips and thighs. Its face was stretched as it seemed to have a slight and pronounced snout, and its eyes were blacker than the blackest of nights and piercing. It had long black hair that dragged behind it. It's like a dress when it's crawled. But the third leg wasn't even its leg. It was from a root, the same color as the body in the coffin, and broken with a bone protruding from the side. The leg had tire markings, no doubt from Carol. Even though the leg wasn't a part of the creature, it still favored its side like it could feel the broken bone. Carol wondered if the thing could see her, a wonder that was short-lived as it turned to look at her with its feral eyes. "Nice of you to accept our invitation," it croaked, and showed a row of jagged, razor-sharp teeth. "Please stay for dinner." I hope you guys enjoyed this creepypasta reading. Sorry about some of the minor errors along the way, but either way, I hope you enjoyed. And if you'd like, I would love you to subscribe for more content, hopefully improved content as we go along the way. And all my social media platforms will be down below. Thank you for watching again, and bye-bye.